This episode of Playing on a Budget is brought to you by CoolStuffInc.com, the #1 source of games and gaming accessories, and by GatheringMagic.com, the #1 source of Magic the Gathering news and articles. Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com, here with another episode of Playing on a Budget. This is my first Theros brew. I've been having a lot of fun with this. Excuse my voice, I am a little bit under the weather. Just bear with me here. This will be my first Theros brew, as I said earlier. This is a blue-black heroic strategy, which is testing very well against the green-white and the red aggro decks. I think those are, I would say, at least on MTGO, at least over half the decks are going to be red deck wins or green-white aggro, or kind of the green-red aggro. So either green aggro or red aggro, or a mix of those, and then they splash in white for cards like Loxodon and Smiter. So you can cover the whole range of Naya all the way to any of those combinations that I talked about. I'll go over exactly what cards are so great against those creature-based decks in a minute, but first we're going to get the prices out of the way. And as you can see, it's a budget deck. The cards that are actually over $1 amount to $85.78, and it will cost you 4 Agents of Fates, 4 Rakdos Cacklers, 4 Swan Songs, only running 2 Temple of Deceits, I'll tell you why in a minute, and 4 Tormented Heroes, and then the expensive card in here is Watery Graves at $12 a piece. So let's go back to the actual deck tech here. So first of all, we're just running 21 lands because we curve out at 3. There's nothing in this deck that costs more than 3 except a far/away if you fuse it together. Everything else is, I mean, you basically just need to hit 3 to hit these Agent of Fates to Triton Fortune Hunter, and Hidden Strings actually helps you with your mana quite a bit, as you can start untapping lands. And you have a lot of options to go with here. You can go a more control route with Duresses and Negates, and then I like Swan Songs better than, I like counterspelling the non-creature spells rather than just taking them out of the hand with Duress. But I have had a bit of problem with Supreme Verdicts, so I'm thinking that Duress/Thoughtseize, of course Thoughtseize is anything but budget right now, but Duress is definitely an option to get rid of those Supreme Verdicts. And it's the one hang up that I have against Esper Control. Sometimes we're not quick enough against Esper Control to take them out. But other times if I'm on the play, of course, I can be very quick with this deck, as we have 8 1-drops that are 2 power. So let's just go down the list here. So we got the Temple of Deceit. I don't like running more than 2 of these because the worst thing in the world is having a land come into play tapped when you need it to come into play untapped. And I found that out the hard way at Pro Tour Dragon's Maze when I ran a lot of Guild Gates, and Craig Weska, who took the entire thing down, was only running 1 Guild Gate in his entire deck, and I think it guaranteed his 1 and 2 drops. When I played in Pro Tour Dragon's Maze, it was always like, okay, I could either play my Experiment 1 first turn, but then not be able to play my Centaur second turn, or I could play them both first turn, play the Experiment 1, and then play the Centaur, but then I would have an untapped land for my Loxodon and Smiter. And then the scenario continued with my 4 drops of Advent the Worm as well. It was always, I would be stuck with a Guild Gate in my hand that I needed a specific turn to be untapped, and it hurt me so much. I kid you not, that it cost me my losses, probably about 80% of my losses at Pro Tour Dragon's Maze were due to Guild Gates. I'm not joking on that. It was Guild Gates coming to play tapped that really kept my deck from really exploding and winning. I mean, the difference was outracing a Supreme Verdict or outracing them stabilizing or whatnot. It was the difference between me winning or losing a lot of those matchups. So anyway, that's why only 2 Temple of Deceits. I have 4 Water Graves of the best land for the color combinations that we have right now. And then I'm going heavy on swamps and light on islands. It's only 6 islands and then 9 swamps. So it gives us a total of 21 lands. And let's see here. Then we have our 1-drops. I'm bringing the Cackler because it's the most efficient 1-drop that we have out of these colors. It's a 2/2 for 1, and it's got a pretty cool tech. I'll show you in a minute here. And I'm messing around with the numbers to see if I want to go up on these ordeals or not, because they're really cool with the Cacklers, and I'll tell you in a second why. Then there's Tormented Hero. Of course, this is a heroic deck. This guy is insane. He does so much damage, especially when you hook him up with hidden strings. And I've actually had to, for Pharika's Curse, my own Tormented Hero to get in the last point in damage in one of my wins versus Naya. So that was a cool trick there. So anyway, so Tormented Hero, you hook him up with any of these heroic type cards. So we've got Hidden Strings, we've got Fates Foretold. I've got a 1 of Ordeal of Erebos and a 1 of Ordeal of Thassa just to test them out. It's really strong when you go first turn Cackler into second turn Ordeal of Erebos, and then swing. It puts a counter on him, you hit for 3, and the next turn if you swing with your Cackler on, it'd be turn 3. Then you would sacrifice the Ordeal of Erebos because you'd have 3 +1/+1 counters. It doesn't care where it got its counters. It just cares that it has counters. And they have to get rid of 2 cards, and you've got 2 counters on your Cackler. Not a bad little option. And then we've got the Ordeal of Thassa as well. So I don't know the exact numbers what to go, but Scourgemark is also really, really cool on a Tormented Hero. First turn Tormented Hero, second turn Scourgemark. You're getting it for 4 damage. So Scourgemark basically is like do 2 damage to an opponent and draw a card and give your creature +1/+0. So it's a very good tempo card. It again replaces itself, and I really like it in this deck. And hopefully in the following sets that come out, Born of the Gods and the set after that, we'll actually get some more beneficial spells that target creatures. The problem I am finding is my options are quite low in blue and black for beneficial spells. You have like Mizzium Skin and Triton Tactics, but besides those two, a lot of your cards that affect creatures are detrimental, not beneficial. So we're kind of low on the options of what cards we actually use or can use in our heroic deck. So let's go on to the other heroics. So we're running a total of 16 creatures. Again, you can mess around with these Cacklers if you want to go more controls. Thoughtseize is great. Ashiok Nightmare Weaver is great. You could actually go the Lifebane Zombies against, like I said, almost every deck is green these days, and getting rid of like Loxodon and Smiters is really cool. But the thing is, though, if you get an Ancient Fates out, hooked up with a Hidden Strings, this deck is just awesome versus creature-based decks, especially green-white that doesn't have removal. So then there's Agent of Fates. Whenever you cast a heroic spell on it, each opponent sacks a creature. So this happens all the time. Third turn Agent of Fates, fourth turn you hook it up with it, or if you have your Tormented Hero hooked up with Hidden Strings, that turn you could swing in on turn 3, and if your Tormented Hero goes through, then you can target your Agent of Fates and target the Tormented Hero, do another damage. And even though you don't tap or untap your Agent of Fates, it will still trigger it off, and they have to sack a creature. So pretty cool interaction. Again, it works very well with Scourgemarks, Fates Foretold, and whatnot. And then we have the Triton Fortune Hunter that draws a card whenever it's targeted, which is awesome with Hidden Strings. So basically, Hidden Strings are always targeting 2 creatures and getting value out of it. Then we have my super secret tech here is Gridlock. Say you tack in with your creatures, you can actually gridlock your creatures after they've tapped on the attack phase to trigger off these. So you can make them sack a creature in your attack phase before blockers are declared. And also, it's just a good card versus aggro because you can tap down all of their creatures at the beginning of their combat phase. Again, this is just a tempo deck, and if you have to use it to tap down your own dudes, that's perfectly okay as well. Then we've got, again, Swan Song is just my overall control. I could care less about them having a 2/2 bird. And Negate is 2 mana, and Swan Song's only 1 mana. And a lot of times that's a huge, huge deal. Whether you can leave up Negate mana versus Swan Song mana. Then we've got Mizzium Skin. I've got 2 more in the sideboard just against the red decks. And then I've also got 2 Far and Aways. These are really good in this deck, as 5 mana is not too hard to get to. And a lot of times what I end up doing is farring my own guy that they're targeting, or like blocking, farring, and awaying. So they have to sack creature. I get a far and draw a card in response. Or, you can always far their creatures as well. Very, very good versus the Advent of the Worm decks. This deck is great versus Advent of the Worms. Got Disperses in the sideboard, Doom Blades. I've got Illness of Rank in the sideboard for Elspeth and Assemble the Legion and Young Pyromancer, basically. I want to have some sort of answer for this as those white control decks. Again, I got 2 more Mizzium Skins in the sideboard for red deck wins, and I got a Triton Tactics. I'm testing this card out in theory, it's really good against red deck wins, as you can up to 2 target creatures, each case +0/+3. So you save your dudes from Mizzium Mortars a lot of times. We wouldn't be able to save him, but you'd be able to save everything else from Mizzium Mortars. And then you'd still be able to trigger off Heroic. And if you happen to be swinging in and they block with stuff, you can save your dudes and make them not untap during your next untap phase, your opponent's blockers. So kind of cool little card there. Again, testing this out to see how well it is, how well it runs. Then again, we got 2 Disperses and 2 Doomblades in the sideboard. And I've also got, as I said, green decks are everywhere. And you could go Lifebane Zombie if you wanted. But a lot of times this Woodlot Crawler is just crazy good. Especially when you hook it up with the Hidden Strings. Because as Forest Walk, it's going to be unblockable. And it's going to be able to chump block green creatures all day long. And that is huge. So, like I said, I've had a lot of success playtesting this. And I'm going to join a tournament here in a minute to see see if it can actually go the gauntlet. But it's a very budget deck. I haven't seen anyone else run a deck like this. Again, I've had very good success against the RG aggro decks, the red deck wins, the Naya builds, the green-white aggro decks. And if this is still being refined, again, I'm probably going to need to put Duresses in here or Thoughtseize in here eventually. Thoughtseize, of course, puts it over budget by a lot. And you could even go like Mutavaults, wouldn't hurt it too bad. To give you some more kind of kill conditions in here. But other than that, it's a very strong deck. It's a very tempo deck. And you'd be surprised at how fast you go through your deck, how many cards you start to draw with like Scourgemarks and Fate Foretolds, especially when you start to hook up a Hidden Strings on like a Triton Fortune Hunter. It's great card advantage. If you're still worried about a little bit of card advantage, you could actually cut some of these cards down and put some Mainboard and read the bones. Definitely a great card as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this deck. It's about as roguey as it comes, and it's a budget deck. This is Kevin from GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching.